Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, it will discuss the verb patterns 3 and 4. In verb pattern 3, we will discuss the pattern in which the verb is followed by a noun or a pronoun and a to infinitive. Here we have the pattern for verb pattern 3. The pattern is subject plus verb plus noun or pronoun and then plus to infinitive that can be followed by some other words. Or in a negative sentence, it is also followed by preceded by not before the to infinitive. Here we have some examples. The first sentence, I don't want anyone to know. I here is the subject, and then don't here is the auxiliary verb. Want is the verb. Anyone is the pronoun. This is the indefinite pronoun. And then to know is the to infinitive. The second sentence, will you help me to carry this box? Okay, for the next sentence, will here is the auxiliary verb. You here as the subject, and then help is the verb. Me is the object pronoun. To carry, this is the to infinitive, and this box as the object of the to infinitive. The third sentence, we can't allow them to do that. We in the third sentence is the subject, and then followed by modal can't. And then allow is the verb, and them is the pronoun, and then followed by to do as the to infinitive, and that as the object. He likes his wife to dress well. This is the fourth sentence. He here is the subject, and then followed by likes as the verb, and then followed by his wife. This is the noun, where his is the possessive adjective and wife is the noun. To dress well, to dress is to infinitive and well is the adverb. Didn't I tell you not to smoke? Okay, this is a negative question. Didn't is the auxiliary, I as the subject, and then tell as the verb. You is the pronoun, the object pronoun, and then not here is put as the negative, and then followed by to smoke as the to infinitive. Okay, in passive construction, we should remember that the pattern is to be plus past participle. Here, if we make this sentence into passive, we can put it into this pattern. For example, we have the sentence, we can't allow them to do that. How to make it into passive? Okay, we'll change the subject. Here we'll put them from the object in active sentence into the subject into passive sentence. So them is the object, it changes into they as the subject. Can't here is the same thing. It is followed by be, so they can't be, and then allow as taken here is given in past participle form, so they can't be allowed to do that. This is the same to infinitive. The second sentence, did he mean us to know? This is a question. How we make a question in passive? To make a question in passive, we need an auxiliary. So here we put were as the auxiliary for subject we. How do we know that the subject is we? Okay, we will refer to here us as the object in active sentence. So the object in active sentence changes into the subject in passive sentence. So us changes into we. And then the auxiliary is were. Meant. Meant comes from the verb mean. In past participle, verb mean becomes meant. And then here followed by to infinitive. So it becomes were we meant to know? The last example, I've warned you all not to be late. Here, the tense used in this sentence is present perfect. I have warned. It is indicated by the auxiliary have and then followed by past participle. To make it into passive sentence, you will need to put the object into subject in passive construction. Here we have you as the object and then it changes into you as the subject. And then followed by the auxiliary for present perfect. You have and then the been as the be here in passive construction and then followed by past participle. So you all have been warned not to be late. Okay, so the rest is the same. There are some common verbs usually followed by an object and to infinitive. The object used here is the noun or pronoun. Okay, so we have some verbs like advise, allow, ask, beg, house, choose, command, convince, enable, and so on. So if you make a sentence using the word ask, for example, you need to put this verb into the verb pattern like subject plus verb plus object, noun or pronoun plus to infinitive. So I ask you to do that. So I should be followed by object, noun or pronoun. I ask him to come. I ask her to give that book to me. Okay, so remember the pattern from subject, verb, object, pronoun, and noun followed by to infinitive in verb pattern 3. Now we'll change to verb pattern 4. The verbs used in this pattern are verbs that indicate opinions, judgments, beliefs, suppositions, declarations, or mental perceptions. So the pattern in verb pattern 4 is informal style. As we know that English has formal and informal style in delivering sentences. The verb pattern 4 will use formal style. The direct object may be a pronoun or noun or a noun clause with what. The infinitive to be is often omitted. For past time, to have been is used and cannot be omitted. Okay, now let's see the examples. This is the pattern for verb pattern 4. Subject plus verb, followed by noun or pronoun, and then followed by complement. We can put to be or we can also omit to be. So if you see to be in bracket, it means that it is optional. You can put it or you can omit it. Examples. People suppose him to be innocent or people suppose him innocent. So you can omit to be and then you make sentence like people suppose him innocent. The same thing as number 2, they proved him wrong or they proved him to be wrong. Do you think him a good worker? Or do you think him to be a good worker? That's the same thing. I consider what he said important. You can also say, I consider what he said to be important. So this is because this is optional, you can omit to be here. Do you believe such inquiries to be useful? Or do you believe such inquiries useful? Okay, the last example is for the past form. in past form, we cannot omit to be, but we need to put to have been. So we believe it to have been a mistake. Okay, so to say something which is in past form, we make it into to have been a mistake. Okay, there are some notes for this pattern. While verb pattern 4 is used for formal style, in informal style, we say people suppose that he was innocent, compared with people suppose him to be innocent. This is the formal style, and this one is the informal style. So in informal style, you omit the object and you change to be innocent into that clause. Here is called that clause, where you find that followed by subject and then verb and so on. So people suppose that he was innocent. This is in informal style. And then the second sentence, do you think that he is a good worker? Or sometimes you omit that, so it becomes, do you think he is a good worker? This is also in informal style. You may compare it with the sentence, do you think him to be a good worker? So in formal style, you will need object inserted after the verb, but in informal style, you replace the object into a clause, that clause, or without that. We believe that it was a mistake. This is also informal style. You compare it with the formal style, we believe it to have been a mistake. So that's why it is called past form, because it actually like this, it was a mistake. We believe that it was a mistake. So this is the informal way of saying we believe it to have been a mistake. And the last sentence, they knew that the man had been a spy. Or you may omit that, so it becomes, they knew the man had been a spy. Compare with the formal style, they knew the man to have been a spy. Okay, we put the noun after the verb. Okay, we may also have a note for the relative clause. If you remember, a relative clause is a clause having a relative pronoun like who, which, whom, that. Okay, so in a relative clause, the word order is like this. This custom, which I think to be barbarous, should be abandoned. Or, the visitor, whom I guessed to be about 50, came to see you. So in a relative clause, the object, which is a relative pronoun, is shifted before the subject. Okay, so here the relative pronoun as the object, which and whom, so it's shifted before the subject. So for replacing the object, we will use the relative pronoun which for whom. Which is for thing, whom is for people or person. Okay, so another pattern that we can find in verb pattern 4 is about subject plus verb plus it. It is called preparatory it, the it which is inserted after the verb, and then followed by complement and that clause or to infinitive phrase. So if it follows the verb, then the word order becomes subject plus verb plus it plus complement plus clause or to infinitive phrase. Look at the examples. Do you think it odd that I live by myself? Okay, so it here follows the verb think, and then followed by that clause, that I live by myself. If it is a clause, then you will have a subject here, subject I, and then followed by verb leave. Second sentence, I think it a pity that you didn't try harder. Okay, we find it here, and then it follows think as the verb, and then that clause here, that followed by subject and then verb, didn't try. The last example, we all consider it wrong to cheat in examinations. Consider followed by it, and then followed by complement wrong, followed by to infinitive as to infinitive phrase. So you can make it like number 3, the example number 3. There are some common verbs with the patterns like that: acknowledge, believe, consider, declare, deny, feel, find, guess, and so on. So I find it difficult to do that. I find it, and then followed by complement, difficult, to infinitive to do that. Okay, so this is the materials for today. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.